Hey guys, it's the Animator here, and I want to talk about how strong really is the Demon Slayer verse. Well, I see a lot of people online saying the Demon Slayer verse caps at building level or wall level, and I'm like, are we really watching the same show? How does Demon Slayer cap at that level? Well, to scale this, I'm going to start from season 1 Tanjiro training arc before he even enters the final selection. And before I start, I'm gonna focus mainly on their strength feats. I'm only gonna add a little bit of speed feats to, boost their strength and so on. But it's mainly their strength feats. So before I start the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me a lot and gets me far. And plus, it's free. So with that, let's start the video. So, Tanjiro was just a normal boy who has an incredible sense of smell and is the main breadwinner in his family. Tanjiro went out one day, and when he came back, his family was dead except for Nezuko, who swore he would turn back into a human no matter what. And there in the snow, we met Giyu, who Tanjiro temporarily outsmarted because Giyu was distracted, obviously. So Giyu recommended Tanjiro to go train with Urokodaki, a former water Hashira. I don't think any other of the Hashiras would do this, at least maybe Mitsuri maybe would do it, because Nezuko is a demon and it's your job to kill demons no matter what. Only Giyu broke that rule, and if they actually killed Nezuko, the whole series would have definitely been way much different. So in the sequence of about 1.5 years, Tanjiro trained, well, a lot, and his final mission was to cut a huge boulder in half to qualify for the final selection. Are you hearing me? To qualify for the final selection. He's not even a demon slayer yet, and this was his first mission. And Tanjiro applied all he had learned, but nothing worked until Sabito and Makomo came to assist him. So in the sequence of about 6 months, Tanjiro was finally able to cut that huge boulder. It's said of Sabito that Tanjiro cut the biggest boulder, meaning the other boulders was a little smaller than this one. And basically calculating Tanjiro's striking strength would be at about large building level, because calculating that gigantic rock, because I did some of the calculation, weigh about 60 tons. Yeah, 60 tons. And Tanjiro, with his striking strength, was able to actually split the whole boulder in half, scaling him to the likes of large buildings. And this is not a wooden house we're talking about. I'm talking about a good solid house, because this rock is full solid rock. There's no wooden structure in it. So this is Tanjiro base strength at the before you even enter the final selection, basically making Tanjiro beginner level superhuman. So it's stated by Ryu, Low Moon 5, that a demon's neck is much more durable than their whole body or any of their blood demon arts. And it should mean that the hand demon's neck should be comparable to a huge boulder. But why did Sabito, who basically is much stronger than Tanjiro, lose and wasn't able to cut the neck? Well, it's answered in Giyu's backstory. Sabito basically saved everyone in that final selection, saving Giyu, Murata, and everyone else, every other demon slayer. So the best I can come up with is that at the time he fought the hand demon, he was more exhausted, so he wasn't strong enough to cut off the neck, and yeah, that's how he got killed. While a normal demon is comparable to how many people they have eaten, meaning if a demon eats 5 people, they should be comparable to having about 5 people level of strength. But there are different people who has different kind of blood and different kind of flesh types that enhances their strength even more. But I'm not gonna dive deep into all that. So when Tanjiro met Muzan, this is after the final selection, and this is after his other mission of the swamp demon. Muzan turned a man into a demon, and he was so strong that up to 3 grown men, or 2 to 3 grown men, police officers, hold him down. But Tanjiro by himself was able to do it, but needed about 3 or 2 grown men to hold that man down, at least until Miss Tamayo came to distract everyone with her blood demon art. Next, we have Temari Demon and Arrow Demon. The Temari, being controlled by the invisible arrows, was destroying the building. It wasn't instant, just few casualties here and there, enough to rip off the human body if connected. Okay, so we can't really measure this part that much, so we're just gonna move on. And that the Temari Demon borrowed skill to maybe wall level also, while the Aura Demon should scale much higher, but I'll get to their Blood Demon Arts in another video. And now we enter Ryu's arc, Lower Moon 5. His webs, the Blood Demon Art, are able to hold the Demon Slayers to the point they are much stronger than their usual self. This was said by one of the Demon Slayers, who said that she cannot fight like this or is not as fast as this, meaning the webs was just controlling her to move even faster and stronger. The webs are able to completely cut a human into mush, trees, rocks, all that with ease. And the red webs are just way much more powerful and much more durable. And his neck is said to be even much more stronger and much more durable, meaning to cut his neck you should be able to have the force of...
Well, after final selection plus demon slaying experience, Tanjiro grows notably stronger than the boulder feat. But when facing Ryu's blood thread, he still couldn't cut them with normal water breathing, comparable to someone strong enough to destroy a large building. Meaning Ryu's durability would scale to city block level. Again, this is mainly his durability. And not to forget, again, that Ryu's neck is much more durable than all his Blood Demon Arts, meaning you need an incredible amount of striking strength to actually be able to decapitate Ryu, and we saw Giyu do that with ease. Tanjiro was not able to, even with the help of Nezuko's Blood Demon Art, to show you how durable and strong Ryu's neck was and the striking strength needed to do it.
But I'm gonna say that city block level sounds too much too far, so I'm gonna reduce it and say it's about at just about stronger than metal, meaning really thick metal. You need to be able to cut a really thick metal to be able to cut off Ryu's neck. And next is Enmu, who is literally a train with a very subtle but deadly Blood Demon Art. This train is not a normal train at all. Its durability is actually much more increased than normal, and the neck of the train would scale far higher than the train itself. We saw Inosuke with just his head bursting out through the roof of a train to basically show you that these guys are not normal humans. Instead, your average demon slayer is actually a beginner level superhuman, and cutting through a train's steel shell takes about 250 tons of force, the same as the weight of 4 Abrams tanks, or at least 170 cars. And just so you know, Tanjiro was the one that cut the demon enhanced train's neck, whose durability actually exceeds that of a normal train. And in the Mugen train, Tanjiro is not even close to Hashira level, to show you the strength of, well, the Hashiras and the upper moons. And it's actually mentioned by Zenitsu that when the train went off rails, Rengoku used some breathing styles to make sure everyone inside all 8 or 7 cars were safe, and for it to land safely as well. As for the Rengoku vs Akaza fight, as most of us already know, Akaza was just playing with Rengoku to the point that he only wanted Rengoku to become a demon. Even after a hole in his chest, Akaza was basically pleading and begging Rengoku, please become a demon, so that Rengoku won't die. So from Upper Moon 6, Daki and Gyutaro is where the scaling gets much more clear. So we start with Daki, who would scale to village level because of a long range attacks and how it completely destroys buildings with ease. For those of you who say it was just wooden building, well, think again, it's actually a building made out of concrete that is overlaid with wood. It may also not be as durable as modern buildings of now, but this is technically still Upper Moon 6 Daki we're talking about, who still scales far above Lower Moon 1 Enmu and Season 1 Tanjiro as a whole. So it won't really be much of a stretch to say that Daki attacks actually destroys modern day building, at least maybe not to a high degree, but definitely it can destroy it. Next should be Nezuko, who basically just scales higher than Daki. She was kicking Daki through buildings like it was nothing, regenerating fast as fast as an Upper Moon 6. Yeah, basically Berserk Nezuko is really powerful. Next is actually Tengen. So when Tengen uses his first form, Roar, he was able to destroy the ground into a deep cave where we saw his wives, Zenitsu and Inosuke were. And we know how deep that cave was because of, well, Inosuke jumped right into it.
And that's Tengen's pure raw strength. Tengen also uses bombs that are actually meant for demons. It completely destroyed a building, but Gyutaro and Daki was able to block it together. Gyutaro and Tengen should ultimately scale to basically town level, with Gyutaro being much higher than Tengen, because a district is already said to be much bigger than a town, and Tengen versus Gyutaro destroyed most of the district, both with their clash and with Gyutaro's final explosion. And for those of you that would say that the buildings were not as durable as modern buildings, well, I'll tell you with 100% accuracy that if Tengen versus Gyutaro was in a modern city, it would do the exact same level of damage, if not more. Why? Because Gyutaro scales above literally everything that we have scaled so far. And if Tanjiro can definitely have the strength to cut a building, Upper Moon 6 will have more than enough strength to do the same. Meaning his blood sickles and his blood demon arts as a whole would have enough strength to destroy modern buildings with ease. And I'm gonna get to the Demon Slayer mark in a bit, but first, we move to Gyoko. Well, for Gyoko, both in the manga and the anime, his feat isn't really that great. His hacks is definitely up there, but apart from his durability, it didn't really show much destruction level feat. In the manga, he only destroyed a small part of the forest, and in the anime, surprisingly, even less. But we can still safely scale him above Gyutaro because, well, is Upper Moon 5, and his durability, that is as durable as diamonds, is something else that gives him a good edge, as well as his hacks ability, both in his pot form and in his awakened form. Now, Hatengu Upper Moon 4 is another case. Base form is fast enough to dodge a Hashira, but still can get caught, and when he's caught, he basically splits into a younger and stronger version of himself, bringing out the rage and pleasure demon, who has the blood demon arts of lightning and wind, and when caught again splits into two more versions, one having the spear and one having sound and the ability to fly as well. So the Rage Demon controls the Lightning Blood Demon art, the Pleasure Demon controls the Wind Blood Demon art, the Joy Demon controls the Sound Wave Blood Demon art, while the Sad Demon controls the Spear Blood Demon arts. The Wind Demon alone can destroy a wide area at once with just a swing of his arm, as well as completely destroy 2-story, 3-story buildings with just one swing. And for the rest, demons should scale equally to the Joy Demon as well, meaning the sound attack should have the same level of destructive capability, the lightning and the spear should have the same level of destructive capability. And you cannot tell me that if you put these 4 demons in a city block, they won't completely destroy that area that they're in and more. And even if you manage to cut their neck off or explode them one way or the other, they will not die, they will just regenerate, because that's not even the main body. And after all that, they still have one more even stronger form, which is Zohakuten. Zohakuten has his own extra blood demon art, the Wooden Dragon, and he enhances the other 4 blood demon arts, making him even much more powerful than the 4 being separate. You see, in my opinion, the Wind Blood Demon art was weakened when Zohakuten took it, because it's only concentrated on one place instead of a wide area as it usually do. So Zohakuten should scale far higher, like far higher than Gyutaro, who was scaled to basically town level. Ultimately, I'm putting Zohakuten at city blocks level or multiple city block level. And now scaling Mitsuri, who at 3 months old carry a large rock. 3 months, yes, and at 3 years old, she was strong enough to beat a full-grown sumo wrestler multiple times with ease. Yes, that's someone who's not even a Hashira yet. And when she was said to get married, it was said that she's strong enough to be comparable to 8 grown men. That's basically why lots of men didn't want to marry her, because, well, she was way physically much stronger than them and she eats a lot. But there's nothing bad with that part, so. So when she became a demon slayer under Rengoku, I don't know how many of you guys actually know this, but she was actually someone who learned under Rengoku, and it's in the Rengoku fan manga if you want to go and read it. So Mitsuri went through the same training as Tanjiro and the gang did, became strong, really powerful, learned total concentration. Then she unlocked her love breathing technique when they were fighting Lower Moon 2, the Shadow Demon. And then she becomes a Hashira, who is basically much miles higher than our 8 grown men strength. Now we go into the Demon Slayer mark. It said it gives the user up to 10 to 100 times the level of strength, speed, and more, basically in all physical aspects. But I don't know if it's actually up to 100 times though. We can scale it to when Tanjiro was very weakened and he struck Gyutaro with a poison kunai, making Gyutaro much weaker. And I do mind you that this Tanjiro already have multiple broken bones inside his body, and he was still not strong enough to cut off Gyutaro's weakened neck. But when he manifested Mark, Gyutaro was at full strength while Tanjiro was poisoned, but he was strong enough to completely cut off Gyutaro's full power neck. So I can say it gives you a great boost in stamina, strength, speed, and more, basically all physical aspects, even if you're in your weakest physically. I personally don't believe that 10 Tanjiros in the Entertainment District arc is strong enough to behead Gyutaro, because Gyutaro did not even see Tanjiro as a threat whatsoever. So I believe the 100 strength feat could be a stretch, but it's still kind of reasonable because these guys were in their weakest and lowest moments possible. But when the mark manifested, they completely cooked their opponents. Like for example, we have Muchiro, also got it at his weakest and was suddenly strong and fast enough to kill awakened Gyoko. And Gyoko's scales again are scaled to be as hard as diamonds, while his neck should be much more durable than diamonds, and Mitsuri caught it all with ease. While for Mitsuri, after awakening the mark, was able to fight all night with Zoakuten, making her fully comparable to him to the point she was still mating him. While for her durability, she was able to tank Zoakuten's compressed sound wave, which was much stronger than the one used on Tanjiro. Zoakuten was basically expecting her body to explode from that attack, but because of her muscle density, she was able to withstand the full force of that attack. By the way, side note, she was fast enough to dodge lightning multiple times. She was only caught off guard while in the air in an instant, nowhere close to the ground, so she would be struck by the sound-based attacks. So someone who has the strength of more than 8 grown men by far with the Demon Slayer mark, that someone is actually able to stalemate Zoakuten. So before the mark, Zoakuten could attack other people and attack her as well, but after the mark, Zoakuten was only focusing on her, making Mitsuri to scale basically to Zoakuten in terms of destructive capabilities. So Zoakuten would scale to small city block level, but I would say multiple city block level because of his lightning, sound, wind, spears, all enhanced by the way, and his dragon attacks. And plus he can just completely spam his techniques over and over, destroying multiple city blocks in the process. And now, why for the top 3 would scale even higher than everything we just said. Akaza, Upper Moon 3, scales much higher than everyone else mentioned so far that Shinobu said up to 3 Hashira can take them down. Akaza would scale to multiple city blocks level with ease. For those who have read the manga and watched the movie should see why he does. And his compass needle technique is a very instant counter to basically any attacks as long as it's blockable. If you guys want me to go into detail about the Upper Moon's and Lower Moon's Blood Demon arts, please write them down in the comments. While for Doma, his giant ice Buddha scales already too. For some people they say town level, but I would like to say it's just, let's say, 1 city block level because it's up to 3 to 4 story buildings tall or so, and it continuously spews ice, freezing ice everywhere. Maybe less effective freezing ice, but still, but at full power, the ice Buddha would logically be much larger, much denser, and definitely much colder. And again, this Doma was heavily weakened. 70 times the doses of poison was inside him, but he still had the strength necessary to create this gigantic level of Ice Buddha. So his full power should scale to maybe, let's say, half a city. This is no longer city block level, but just half a city, your average city. And if you say this is a stretch, think about it. This isn't really much of a stretch because Doma was basically playing with Shinobu, Inosuke, and Kanao throughout the whole fight. It was not serious at all whatsoever. But with what we saw in his weakened state, we can scale it to how it would be like in his full power state. By the way, this Doma was, his bones was basically melting to show you how weak this Doma was. So ultimately, this Doma should scale to basically have a city because of what we saw in his weakened state. And his Ice Buddha being his strongest move was already scaled from town level to city blocks level. While for Kokushibo Open Moon 1, since the fight was placed inside the Infinity Castle, we cannot tell the amount of damages that was done because the Infinity Castle can basically continuously rebuild itself over and over. So, but if this fight was outside the Infinity Castle, Kokushibo should basically scale much higher than Doma, making Kokushibo possibly small city level, especially with his 16th forms of blood demon art that are real, see-through world, demon slayer mark, and plus almost 500 years of experience. While for Muzan, this is where a lot of people are going to argue because the explosion that hit Muzan was, well, let's say about a city block level or so. But what they fail to realize is that that explosion was specifically made for demons. You see, that explosion is similar to the ones Tengen uses against Gyutaro and Daki. Because Gyutaro said that he could tank Tengen's explosion, but if it was meant for demons, he would have to dodge it, which was literally what he did. The explosion was also mixed with miniature and tiny spikes to add more damage. That explosion should scale to city blocks level or so. So assuming it was a normal explosion of that size and scale, then it shouldn't really affect Muzan as much as it did. Because we saw weakened Muzan scales to multiple city blocks level as we saw in the Sunrise Countdown arc. And it was weakened to about basically 9,000 years and was still getting weaker every minute, which is why his hair remained white. So basically every energy attacks, every kind of explosion, every kind of earthquake that we saw Muzan actually do in the Sunrise Countdown arc was him at his extremely weakest. So imagine his full power. Taking away those 4 drugs, he would perform literally city level feats. He could potentially destroy a whole city. And also don't forget about his regenerative state. And this should prove how much more Yorichi is actually a beast to Muzan. Why Muzan was afraid of him. Why Muzan called Yorichi a monster. Yeah, so full power Muzan would ultimately scale from small city to average city level, while Yorichi should be much higher than him, as well as faster. So ultimately the Demon Slayer verse should scale to about city level. While we never saw the full potential of some of the demons like Muzan, Doma, or Awakened Kokushibo, but based off of the feats we saw them do, even if it's weakened, it should be enough to scale them. Well guys, thanks for watching till the end this far. I really appreciate it. It really took me a long time to make this video and complete it, so please don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos, and have a nice day. You guys are amazing.